Like, put your hand. Oh,
I'm a princess! Hey, you're here with Ben, and today we're in England. Specifically, my home county of Derbyshire in the Midlands. You know Jane Austen? Maybe you've heard of her. She once called this the most beautiful county in all of England. And bias on the table, I think I agree with her. And so together, we're going to be exploring Jane Austen's favourite spots in a Pride and Prejudice day trip. How are we going to get here, and what are the specifics? Well, sadly, these aren't going to be the easiest places to get to. There are going to be a lot of local buses, but it's going to be really variable depending on where you want to base yourself out of. So my recommendation is to kind of just rent a car, make a road trip out of the whole event. We shall start off our tour right here in the ancient and beautiful town of Bakewell. Before leaving, of course, we're going to have to check out the Bakewell pudding, as you just can't come here without trying one. Then, with our stomachs satisfied, we'll move on a short 10 minutes down the road to Chatsworth Manor House, which is a beautiful, stately home, thought to be the inspiration for Mr. Darcy's Pemberley. This is going to be a jam-packed day, so let's get going. Alright, so like I said, we're starting out in the village of Bakewell. This village is a must for Austen fans, as the fictional village of Lambton from the novel Pride and Prejudice is actually just a carbon copy of Bakewell. She even stayed here, in the centre of town at the Rutland Arms Inn and Pub, still standing by the way, during the writing of Pride and Prejudice, which is theorised to be the place where she even completed the final chapters. So maybe, if you've got time, you're going to want to grab a drink there. I know I have. Myself today though, I'll be skipping it, as I've got a breakfast date with a Bakewell tart, and I must not be late. All in all, in my opinion at least, this whole town is well worth a walk through. With its old cobblestone streets and jiddies, for its down-to-earth yet properly tasty food, you just can't beat a good wander and window shop through this idyllic Peak District town. I've been counting the days since I was last in Bakewell for one of these bad boys. So what is a Bakewell pudding? Well, I've been putting it off long enough, let's get to it. It's a truly special confection, conceived and raised here in this town, with a short crust pastry filled with layers of frangipane almond filling and raspberry jam. Personally, I prefer the Bakewell tart variant, which is just a Bakewell pudding with the addition of a ridiculously sweet almond icing top layer. I mean, go big or go home, right? However, no matter which you get, it wouldn't truly be complete without a proper serving of hot custard and cold cream lovingly poured atop. To get one of these, you'll need to run over to the old original Bakewell pudding shop or Bloomers of Bakewell. These shops have a fierce rivalry, both boasting to own the original and secret recipe that gives the treats their distinct Bakewell flavour. I think they're both great. I mean, it's a sugary almond raspberry tart. But my choice today is the old original, where I'll be having an English breakfast as well, because I just can't tank that kind of sugar intake this early in the morning on an empty stomach. Guess I'm getting old. By design, we've started quite early in the day, so there's going to be plenty of time to relax at the restaurant after the meal to let the food settle before we drive 10 minutes up the road to our next stop, Chatsworth Manor House. What exactly is a Chatsworth, and what does it offer? Chatsworth is one of the largest stately homes in England. The manor has been in the Cavendish family, who you might have heard that name before without realising whose it was. I know I didn't know. Since 1549, and is currently the seat of the Duke of Devonshire, who surprisingly still lives here. Often, I think of dukes and manor houses as things of the past, but I suppose, since there's always money in the banana stand, shouldn't be surprised they're still around, eh? As a visitor, you can purchase entrance into the house and the gardens house for £22 per adult, with discounts for children, seniors and students. The house features 30 truly opulent rooms for you to explore. Highlights include the painted hall, the chapel and the state bedchamber. Perhaps my favourite is a toss-up between the Great Stairway or the Sculpture Gallery, which fans of the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie will easily recognise from Elizabeth Bennet's visit to Pemberley, in which she continues to reconsider Mr. Darcy's marriage proposal. Good stuff. That's right, not only was it theorised that this is what Austen had in mind for the manor, but it's also the shooting location for many scenes in the movie, making it pretty concrete in most fans' mind that this is where the Darcy man resided. They even have a bust of Mr. Darcy in the house itself, with a strange sign requesting you to please not give him any kisses. Now, a great thing about visiting Chatsworth in December is that the whole house is going to be decorated for Christmas, along with a special theme. This year, the theme is Around the World in 80 Days. Let's go check it out. That was awesome. But moving on to my favourite part, let's go explore the gardens. 105 manicured acres nestled into the classic rolling hills with themed gardens, trails, waterworks, streams and Victorian follies. I've set aside majority of my time for here, but that's just me. If gardens aren't really your thing, then my recommendation is that you at least have to check out the main attraction, the Cascade. Water flows out of a grand Baroque house at the top of the park, flowing down over 24 stone steps. When you do, listen carefully. The stairs were cut with unique textures and heights as to create a unique sound for each step as the water flows along. In 2004, the Cascade was voted the best water feature in England by a panel of 45 garden experts, and we wouldn't want to foul their judgment by skipping it. Down the hill from the Cascade, to the back of the manor, is the Emperor Fountain and Reflecting Pool, with the fountain shooting around 60 meters into the air, depending on the wind, often giving very reliable rainbows. Pretty cool. Again, Austen fans, you're going to recognize this from the closing scene in the 2005 movie. Just don't get any ideas. It's a family-friendly outing. Let's have a bit more of a look before I see you at home for the conclusion.
Hey everybody, we're back in Munich after visiting your family in the Peak District. So we're going to talk about our Pride and Prejudice video a little bit, but first, why don't you tell us about the region?
Yeah, I mean, I love telling people about the region because in the Peak District it's fantastic, and I think you should go there. I mean, that's why we made the video. I've kind of been very opinionated about this in the past. I'm going to continue to be. We made the whole How to Explore video, How to Explore England video on this topic specifically because I think too many people, I'm going to say it again, go to London, and then when they're done with London after spending way too long there, then they go to Edinburgh. and then they've missed out on, as far as I'm concerned, almost everything. And so I really want you to be inspired and to really help you get out there and see this part of the country. Not just because I'm from there, it's also just fantastic. That's objectively true. It's also really easy to get to. I mean, I know you're going to be in London, don't worry about it. I'm not going to judge you too much, but you could take a train about 2 hours north to get into Derby, where you'll be able to jump off into the Peak District. And it's fantastic, there's so much to do. However, there is definitely one big problem, and that's that the public transportation could be better. It does exist, you could use it, but it's going to limit the amount of things you're going to be able to do per day, and it's really going to put you kind of on a strict schedule, which I think can often take the fun out of kind of traveling in this kind of area. I mean, road trips are fantastic, and I think we all know that. So that's what I would recommend. It's what I recommended in that video, which you should watch, and then I'm going to recommend it again now, that you rent that car and then you get out there and you can explore all the little towns, not just the ones that we've shown. I think that would do a really good trip for you. But why don't you talk about the literature side of things?
Yeah, so I had read Pride and Prejudice about a year ago. I thought it was time to, finally get around to it. And I just remember having a lot of questions that I directed to you and some sort of supplemental searches on the internet, because I was having trouble really visualizing a lot of the systems that were underpinning Jane Austen's characters and the drama that was unfolding between them. Even after finishing the novel, I still felt like I had a few blanks in understanding to a really deep degree Regency England, under which the novel takes place. After we went to Derbyshire in the Peak District and we saw Chatsworth and we saw Bakewell, I felt like I had a much fuller picture of what was going on in the novel and the situations that were making these characters behave in the way that they were. So I'll give you an example. At the beginning of Pride and Prejudice, if you'll remember, Elizabeth Bennet needs to walk to the Bingley Manor house to visit her sick sister. There's a problem though, she's walking from one town to another town and it's quite rainy and muddy. And so obviously I can imagine a character walking, that's not difficult to imagine, outside. But in my mind, she was walking through sort of a void. There was no background because I grew up in the United States in the suburbs. We don't walk between towns, we drive everywhere. So it was just very difficult for me to truly understand what that would look like. But after we had visited the region, driven and walked between towns, seen the public footpaths, seen how all the villages are set up and how they relate to each other, it was so much easier for me to truly understand what this would have looked like and how that drives, the interactions in Austen's novels.
Right. I mean, that's definitely something that I kind of force everyone to experience when I take them, anywhere in England, is to go on these public footpaths and experience them, because I think it's one of the things that England does really well. And it is different from generic walking through woods. There's a very different vibe when you're walking on these really old public footpaths. I mean, trying to navigate some of those styles to get over the hedgerows in your dresses is going to be a nightmare. And so it's kind of cool now that you've been through and you've gotten to see it. And so yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think it was an awesome trip. I highly recommend that you do it. But that's going to probably wrap this video up. Now, it's not the only thing we filmed. I managed to squeeze in one more video, and that's going to be on the Black Country Museum, which is where they've taken a whole town, reconstructed it, all original buildings, and frozen it in time. And it's an old pit village as well, so it's got a mine for you to explore. Overall, that's going to be an amazing day trip as well. So please subscribe so you can check that out when it comes out. And other than that, follow us on Instagram, where we always post where we are and what we're up to. And then, like in the bottom, we can always talk and, hang out in the comments. Cool. Bye.
Bye.